Lounging, son.
Welcome back to another episode of the Comic Lounge podcast. My name is Ryan. I got my boy Dylan with me.
What's going on, guys?
And today we're going to be talking about Fables Vol.5, the mean seasons, as we continue our read of the series.
It's getting better.
Yeah.
Usually
same.
for like the Fables stuff, I gotta like space it out. But this one was good.
Yeah, it's I know it continues to get better, and
I want to know who the adversary is. I feel like it's gonna be something stupid.
It's not.
Like, we never would have thought about him.
Where you should have thought about it, yeah. And then just quickly for all you guys listening too, the compendium that has the first 41 issues, a couple of the tie-ins, is coming out Wednesday. We got them. Oh, nice. We actually got DC's books on Wednesday for this Wednesday.
Lunar was weird this week, right?
Yeah, so I already read a couple of the DC books that are coming out. As you know, it's only Saturday, so but yeah, so the compendium's out for anybody that's listening and has been enjoying it. Definitely check that out. But before we jump into Fables, Dylan and I want to talk about DC's new initiative that's starting in January, Future State. If you don't mind, I would like to just give a quick thought, real quick, since you know I'm technically the diehard DC guy between the two of us.
Yeah. No, that's
so. First off, at first glance, I did not like it. I looked at it and I was just like, "What the actual fuck is this shit?" You know what I mean? Because I got the press email early before. I got it in the morning before like all the news outlets even broke out the news. Mm-hmm. So that's how I found out at like six in the morning, whatever day that was announced. I'm like, oh, what a way to start my fucking day. You know, I'm like, this is horrible. And then, and because what I did was I just looked at the covers. I didn't look at the creative teams at all because I had the press release that said who was going to be on what book, but I just looked at the covers and I'm like, oh my God, what are they doing? Like, what is this? Is this like that stupid Futures End crap that they did during the New 52? You know, so contempt prior to investigation, right? And
yeah.
Luckily,
I had the same reaction too. Like whenever it's like large scale events, and then they have those big splash pages where it's just like a bunch of heroes flying at you. I'm like, oh dear God.
Right. And lucky enough, I think this happened on Friday, correct? So luckily enough,
I think Thursday.
So yeah, whatever. So then I had a day to sit on it. I looked at the creative teams and I'm like, okay, there's a lot of creators that I like. I like that I'm seeing new faces at DC that I haven't seen before. And then I'm like, okay, maybe some of these concepts are kind of intriguing. Plus you throw in a Kari Randolph cover or two and I'm gonna buy that shit if only for the art. Brandon Thomas. We love Brandon Thomas on the Comic Lounge. So I'm very stoked. Like, I'll to be honest with you, I think that Aquaman book might be the one I'm excited for the most.
Dude, I don't know. Look, so Jen Bartel is doing interiors.
Yes, I know.
Which Wonder Woman.
I know.
Like, I don't like.
I know.
Shit,
I'm excited. so like I saw the creative teams and I'm like, okay, I started warming up to a little bit. Then I was lucky enough to talk to Scott Snyder yesterday.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So we talked about the metal event and, you know, because I had just read 4. So I kind of asked him, like, you know, what's the goal, stuff like that. And then I know it's leading into Future State. You know, I won't give too much away. You know, you guys can check it out in the interview I'm going to be posting next week. You know, he kind of, the way he laid it out kind of made it seem, I'm like, okay, you know, like I can get on board with this kind of somewhat mini event on top of the fact that I've pretty much canceled all my DC books. So It's not like I have to add stuff. I can kind of pick and choose if I want to buy it, or I can just read it at the shop. I'm sure they're going to collect all of this shit in some sort of trade paperback, a couple volumes or whatever, you know, much like they did with that Convergence event that happened a few years ago when DC moved from New York to LA, right? Like I said, contempt prior to investigation. I looked at it and I'm like, what the fuck is this trash? Yeah. But there's a couple things that did excite me on first glance. I will admit this, even though I was at first kind of hating it. Mariko Tamaki and Dan Mora on a Batman book. Come on, dude. Dan Mora is killing it, bro. He is absolutely killing it. And I discovered his work on Klaus, which I noticed, by the way, you put on our list for books to read. Good call on that. Good call, dude. I made sure to grab that from the shop before anybody bought it. So, so like I've liked his work since then. And, you know, he's doing Once in Future, and it's cool to kind of see these artists, these artists from Boom that are coming over to the more, I guess, quote unquote mainstream stuff. Like Simone DeMeo's doing a Champions book The fucking art in there is absolutely insane. I know I'm getting off topic, but the biggest takeaway for me, which is why I brought up Dan Mora, Marigo Tamaki, is that I'm really liking the diversity of the creators, the fresh faces that we're seeing on these books, and kind of from my gauging of what Snyder was kind of teasing, I'm excited to see what happens post Future State. I wouldn't say that he kind of said, as far as he knows, that it's not like a bunch of books are getting relaunched, but that he has heard some plans. He's excited to see what's kind of coming out from it. I mean, like I said, the Aquaman book, and I like Aquaman. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to say that it surprised me that that's the one book that excited me, but it excited me because it's not Aquaman. It's Jackson, who was the old Aqua lad, and then you got Arthur and Mira's daughter. I'm like, this is interesting, dude. Yeah. So I mean, and I like that new Batman costume. There's some cool stuff to it. I just hope that it's not it could go one of either two ways. It could either be, for the majority of it, it could either be really good, or it can be like Valiant and be trash. It's one of two ways. I'm sorry. I'm just being honest. It could just be all shock value. I don't see it happening that way based on the creators that are attached to it. But there are some where I'm like, what is that even about? And I kind of don't like the price point. A couple of those anthologies are like $8 a piece. So that's kind of asking a bit much. I know that's only 2 issues of the anthology, but that's
oversized, right?
Yes.
Oversized ones. That's multiple stories in one.
But, I mean, another thing that really kind of excited me was that Justice League, and we got the Green Lantern from Far Sector. So that's pretty cool to see that. I don't know. I'm wondering also how much of this is what was supposed to be from Generations.
Yeah.
That initiative they were supposed to do before Dan DiDio got fired. Right? So, I'm wondering how much of that got kind of worked into this, and, what's going to really be spinning out going forward.
And whether or not it sticks. I feel like there's a lot of titles they're putting out, and this is essentially just a tester, just to test the waters with how they're received, how these characters are received, right? So
it's exactly what Snyder said, yes.
Yeah, it's a tester. It's just testing the water, see what characters are well received, and how to integrate them into the future of comics and how the stories will go. Because it's supposed to be set in the future.
Some of it seems that it's not quite that far, though. Okay. If you pay attention to some of the solicits, some of them seems obviously Arthur and Mira's daughter, that would have to be a substantial jump in time. But then you see some of them where it doesn't feel like they've jumped too far in time, so it's kind of confusing. Because Jonathan Kent is as the Superman, but he looks the same age as he does in Legion. So I don't know. There's a couple things that are kind of conflicting. Of I don't know what timeline this is, but I think it's also supposed to be. Well, I don't think it's basically what Snyder said, but it's the possibilities of what's going to come out from Metal and the future possibilities of where DC can go once the multiverse, whatever happens with that at the conclusion of Metal, is kind of taken care of. So I don't know which ones were you excited for though? I know you said Immortal Wonder Woman.
Okay, so this is one thing that I noticed, once I was reading these creative teams. Have you noticed that every single comic that involves women in the main as the main characters or the main storyline or main team, they're all written by women. So Gotham City Sirens, Paula Sevenbergen. We have Wonder Woman, Becky Cloonan.
I love Becky Cloonan, by the way. I don't know if you're very familiar with her stuff, but she is fucking amazing. I love her.
And look, in one of the oversized or one-shots, I'm not sure, but Kara Zor-El, Superwoman, by Marguerite Bennett. These teams are pretty freaking...
Yeah, you know what I'm really stoked for?
Red Hood, Joshua Williamson.
Well, that yes, because you know me, I love Williamson. But the one that really I've been talking about her for months at the shop. What is she doing? Joelle Jones on that new Wonder Woman.
Oh yeah, dude, I know.
I love Joelle Jones. I love her writing. I love her art. I think that's the first Catwoman book that I've liked since Ed Brubaker wrote it back in the early 2000s. And I was upset when she left. But yeah, dude. Her doing that, and I love that design of that new Wonder Woman. So, like I said, at first, some of the titles that I didn't like were first of all, I don't know what is going on with Flash, and he's like a zombie Wally or something. So that one kind of
it sounds like he's just perpetually starving, so he's just eating everything.
I know.
I saw some of the pictures of Wally, and I'm just like, you guys just love dragging this fool. I don't care.
Admittedly, that fucking infuriated me, but but whatever. I you know what? I will read it first. I don't want to bash it. Like I bashed like Ten of Swords, right? And then I ended up reading it, and it's been pretty fucking solid. 8 parts into it. Yeah, I need to do better at that. I feel like I have been very, especially if it's coming to DC, I've been very judgmental about any books they're doing based on their actions as a publisher, and the industry as a whole. I'll probably read almost all of them as long as I'm still as long as I'm still working at the shop. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Do you know what you were right about as far as DC Comics goes, though?
What?
Fucking Rorschach. That shit was.
Oh yeah, let's talk about what we
Okay, look, I'm not gonna sit here and bash it because I feel like a lot of people are doing that already. But
are they?
I
I
did.
feel like it's been praised.
Really?
I don't know.
I mean, I don't know. I've heard a select few. At first, I thought this was gonna be like a 6 issue thing. I had no idea it was gonna be 12. As far as first issues go, like this is not one. It does not feel like a Watchmen book, and it's more like a whodunit. And like, it didn't. Nothing about it jumped at me. Nothing about it was like intriguing. Like I was like, oh, this guy running around being Rorschach. Oh, so another guy running around being like Rorschach. Like that's been done, bro. Like I mean, I'm sure this is it's gonna be dragged out. It's gonna be something else. But I'm gonna give it like an issue or two more. But I did not like this first issue. Like
Yeah, I mean, I gave
it a 2 out of 5 star rating because it's decent.
Yeah, Jorge Forney is he's an amazing artist. He invokes a lot of David Mazzucchelli in his art, which is why when I saw him on a Batman issue during Tom King's run, I was like, holy shit, where'd this fucking guy come from? He's amazing. But yeah, I think that the younger generation, a little bit younger than us, maybe the ones that don't have as much of an affinity for Alan Moore or don't really, and I'm not judging young people as a whole, but the ones that maybe don't know the story of Alan Moore. I mean, you and I are basically the same age, maybe give or take a year, but you didn't even know the whole story behind Alan Moore.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? but you still know Alan Moore and how he has earned respect, and you did know that he did get fucked over. You just didn't know the extent. So I feel like some of these people that are going to praise Rorschach are either going to be the younger people that have no fucking clue about what happened to Alan Moore, or the people that just don't give a fuck about creators' rights, I guess. I mean, obviously it doesn't, in my opinion, it doesn't matter. I mean, I don't want to say you because you read the book. That's fucked up. I don't know. Maybe, yeah, I'm not judging anybody for reading it. You know what I mean? I believe what I believe, and I just don't see why that, especially like it's very hypocritical. If you pay attention to Tom King being like, oh, I love Alan Moore so much, and this is to honor him. How are you honoring him? You're producing a book of a character that he got screwed over on. You think he fucking cares that you're trying to honor him? Alan Moore could give two shits what you're fucking doing with that book. You know what I mean? And it's like, and it just goes back to me, how I think that DC's just continuously slapping Alan Moore in the face every time they produce more Watchmen stuff. It's one thing if you're keeping the original story in print, but like now you're like expanding on his work. It would be like if somebody else did League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, kind of, to me. You know what I mean? Like it just
it's like if Pac was alive and people were just like doing the same stuff that they're doing with his music. You know what I mean? Like you know how like all these posthumous albums come out for Tupac, and then like they're just absolute trash, and was like Pac would never have been okay with that. It's like that, but except Alan Moore's alive.
Yeah. Well, I mean, real quick, I like Loyal to the Game. I like that.
Which one was that?
Was the
Eminem produced one? I liked it too, but like a lot of people hated it.
You
like the general consensus was like a lot.
Really?
Yeah.
There's a DJ Quick song on the end last track that DJ Quick produced.
Yeah.
That song is hard as fuck.
Well, that's because it's DJ Quick. DJ Quick has to be the smoothest motherfucker on the planet.
I love DJ Quick. But yeah, we're going into hip hop now. That usually happens.
Alchemist is teasing a new project real quick. It's called The Food Villain. I don't know what it's about, but it's a new project. And
okay, I'm gonna keep.
You gotta check it out. Just check out his Instagram. But anyway.
But yeah, I don't know. I don't like it. I flipped through it. Like the art looked okay. The cover design I think is fantastic. I love the cover design. I even tweeted at the fucking designer. I was like, dude, this might be one of the best designed covers I've ever seen in my life. Yeah, it's just I don't know just the aesthetic of it was just phenomenal. And then I found out he's the same guy that did the design for American Vampire #1, the 1976 that just came out, that red cover.
Yeah.
I was like, dang, dude, you're fucking killing it. And I tried to like interview him. I was like, I've never talked to a designer, kind of, And he's
Yeah.
like, oh, you have to go through DC. I'm like, yeah, I'm not doing all that. So I don't know. I read a lot last week too. If we're talking about what we read, I think my favorite book that came out last week though was Immortal Hulk. If to be honest
that's
with
what
you,
I didn't read. Okay.
it was fantastic, dude. That series, like every time I think I'm like, you know what, I'm just gonna cut this off my pull and I'll just get the trades because I don't have the first two trades worth in single issues. I have the first two trades and then I started getting the singles. But then I read an issue and I'm like, fuck, I can't justify taking this off my list. It's just so fucking good. Very interesting story. I mean, I won't get too much into the story because if you're not reading it, then anything I say about it won't make sense. And then I continued the Ten of Swords, like I kind of touched on earlier. It's still pretty solid. Nothing fantastic.
Customers at work keep on asking me about Ten of Swords, and I'm just like, I'm waiting. I'm waiting for the trade. Sorry, dude. It's like, oh, this must suck working here because you hear people talking about it. It's like, actually, no, people are pretty good about it. But I just feel like I'm going to be so behind by the end of this.
Don't worry. No, you're not. I mean, there's a lot of shit people ask me if I read, and I'm like Rorschach. Oh, did you read it? Did you like it? I'm like, no, that book shouldn't exist. I'll straight up tell them. You know what I mean? I told this guy the other day, this other guy, or this guy that comes in, like, we've kind of become friendly or whatever, because he's in the food industry also, and I just have no problem. I'll be blunt as fuck with him, like with what he's buying. And he had Rorschach. I'm like, oh, you're reading that, huh? It's like, he's like, what? He's like, why, you're not? And I'm like, no, why would I read that book? It shouldn't even exist. He's like, yeah, but I'm intrigued. I'm like, yeah, to each their own, I guess. If you want to throw your morals out the window.
Jesus Christ, Ryan.
What? What? He laughed.
I can't believe you told that to a customer.
Yeah, well. He laughed. Hey, it's cool, bro. He's worked in kitchens, bro. So he knows the lingo. He knows the shit talking. Yeah. So like, I fuck with him. And at the end of it, I was like, I'm fucking with you, dude. Read what you want. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not.
Yeah.
He laughed.
The savagery. Savagery.
Well, just. What are you gonna do? That's how I am, bro. That's why I need to get back in a kitchen. I need to get back in working in a kitchen because I need to.
That's your outlet.
Yeah.
Press release outlet. You know what my favorite read was this week?
What?
Mad Cave's Stargazer 2. I'm really, really liking this series. I feel like it gives me the old, the McG produced X-Files episodes from the 90s. I like it. I like it a lot. And the art, I don't know if it's like the aesthetic color tone and then just the use of like a single color temperature per page, per panel thing that I like, but it's really executed well as far as art. And like I said, it's been a pretty fun read. I'm glad that Mad Cave is able to get this off because like they had delays. I think they were supposed to like start this summer, but with COVID, they pushed it back to now.
Yeah, I know it's fucking over a lot of publishers for sure.
Yeah, especially the indie publishers, dude, because they have to.
Except Vault. Vault has been pumping shit out like none other.
Vault is crazy. Crazy. I don't think I've read anything Vault. I can't name any off the top of my head, but there are like some stuff that I'm like really interested in.
You don't get the advances?
No.
I'll forward them to you.
Well, did they have a release this week? Red Devil Bride? Yeah.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, Adrian Wasso's like sent me an advance of that. And Giga. I read Giga.
Okay.
I'm pretty excited for that. You know me, big giant robots, bro. Like,
yes,
I know. Kidding me? Yeah. What else did you read? I read Strange Adventures. So what I'm doing with Strange Adventures, I'm waiting every 3 issues to read, and this was issue 6, so I finally caught up, and it's easier like that for me. I feel like it's more cohesive. It's like understanding what's going on, and I'm digging it. I'm digging it. It was a Tom King double whammy this week, so it's like I liked one, but I didn't like the other. You know what I mean? But that's Tom King for as far as I go. Like he's hit or miss for me.
I wish I could have a more informed opinion on Rorschach, just so I could talk about it instead of just hating on it. Because I literally just said earlier that I need to stop judging stuff before I see it.
No, but this is about conviction, Brian.
Yeah, but this I just can't get on board with. I mean, Nick too had to tell people, no, I'm not reading that. Because people ask us at the shop, so.
Strange Adventures or Rorschach?
Rorschach. Strange Adventures was good.
Yeah. Okay.
I liked Strange Adventures. I think that, But again, he keeps doing those quotes at the end. People in the industry that have either gotten fucked over or not recognized as much, and it's just very interesting that he chooses to do that and then writes Rorschach. But whatever. I don't know. I kind of wish I could ask him, like, what's the deal with these quotes? Why are you quoting these specific people in the back? Like,
Yeah.
what's the deal? Because they are all comic book people. It's
Right.
not like other people in other industries or whatever. But I do like Strange Adventures though.
Yeah, I'm really digging it. Alana, she's pretty fucking down for her shit.
Yeah, she's very interesting in this book for sure.
Yeah, I don't know. Like so far, I mean, aside from Vision, from like the women that I've read in these Tom King books have been pretty strong, pretty like solid. Big Barda. You had Poison Ivy and Harley Quinn in Heroes in Crisis. I think they were like the standout of that series. Who else did I say? Yeah, and then Alana in this pretty decent. Like I mean, like the portrayal of women, like I like them. Like they've all been strong. They've all been very supportive, but at the same time very independent and down for their shit. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That's been pretty cool. I started reading the second story arc to Mariko Tamaki's Wonder Woman. This one felt like a filler. It definitely felt like a filler issue. And it's fine. Like they put Diana and this fool Max Lord in Miami, and it was just like it was a very whimsical little issue. It's fine.
Yeah,
like, I'm gonna give it a couple more.
I don't know. I looked through that issue and that made me not really want to read it.
Yeah, it was definitely a filler for sure.
I just don't like the fact that, and I've learned from reading online that in this continuity that we're in right now, at least in Wonder Woman, she didn't kill Max Lord, but he has the memory of her having killed him in another continuity, and I feel like that's a disservice to, like, there was a lot that came out of her killing him in the comic books, and it created a lot of stories from that. So I don't know that part, and then it's not very intriguing to me. It's kind of like how I feel with some of the DC titles that I've canceled recently, where I'm like, you know what? I love the character, but I just would rather go back and reread stuff that I've read in the past. Yeah. Again, if I feel like reading about the character instead of continuing to read stuff that's coming out that I don't like, which kind of brings me to this fucking new Flash comic that came out.
Oh yeah,
by Kevin Schnick. I did not care for it at all, dude. Even Ari was like, just give it a chance, just check it out and see what you think. And it was just such a forgettable issue, and it totally feels like a fill-in arc. That's how I
feel about this.
It's just this random fucking story, and then like it ends with the return of this villain that we haven't seen in a while, but like nothing really happens in there. The characterization's not really in there for me. The characters don't feel right. I know that Williamson said that he's, that he is a writer on the Ultimate Spider-Man cartoon show, I think, and that that show's really good, but go back to the drawing board on this one, bro. This was not it, and I hope that post Future State that we have a creative team coming to Flash. And the art wasn't bad in Flash, don't get me wrong, but I'm not even going to continue. I read the first part of this new run, and like this is one of those times where I'm like, this is easy for me to just take off. I don't really care. I don't need it.
It's like it was like New Mutants for me when Dawn of X was happening. I'm like, okay, I don't need this.
I mean, the majority of my week, though, I read all those books by Tuesday morning. All the new books that came out, and then I spent the majority of my week reading Three Ring Circus, which was about the Lakers right before Shaq came to the team, and then all the way till when they fucking melted down against the Pistons in 2004, and then it kind of had a little epilogue touching on Kobe's death, because the guy was writing the book, or he was putting the final touches on it as Kobe passed.
Oh, so it just came out.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay.
So yeah, I kind of spent my time reading that, and then I picked up Fables, and I read that in a night. And then Mario and I are going to do a video about the Black Mirror, the Scott Snyder Batman Black Mirror.
Oh yeah.
I read that. I knocked that out real quick too, and I love that fucking series. So anybody listening, stay tuned for that. There's going to be an episode where we go through the absolute edition of Black Mirror. Well, let's talk Fables. Okay, so Fables Vol.5, The Mean Seasons, written by Bill Willingham. The pencilers are Mark Buckingham, Tony Atkins, Steve Lealoa, Jimmy Palmiotti on inks, Daniel Vozzo, colorist, Todd Klein, letter, James Jean on those covers, and of course edited by the great Shelley Bond. Take it away, Dill.
Okay, so I immediately hit Ryan up as soon as I got past the first chapter and started the second chapter of this, and my first thing out of my mouth was, "Yo, it's a Bigby Wolf volume, fire, all fire."
Hey, can I tell you something real quick before you go forward too?
Yeah.
When you texted me that, I immediately tried to like knock out the rest of that Lakers book so that I could jump into Fables 5. I did it a day earlier just because you messaged me that. Now go ahead.
Hell yeah. See
Yeah.
what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. All right.
Yeah.
So basically, the beginning is like, this is the three divorcees of Prince Charming. They all have this little like congressional meeting every month where they sit there and just talk shit about their ex-husband. And usually that happens with like other divorcees, but they're talking about different ex-husbands. But in this particular case, they're talking about one, Prince Charming, fucking douchebag of the year.
Yeah.
He's a great douchebag though. He's really awesome douchebag to watch. Like, damn, I can't believe you really just said that. But anyway, they're doing their thing, and then Cinderella has to dip out early because, like, she apparently is on her way to Paris, France, to abscond with like creditor money because her glass slipper shoe store isn't doing too well. And when she goes there, you kind of find out that she goes to meet up with friggin' this fool Ichabod Crane from the friggin' Sleepy Hollow legend. And they're doing their thing, and then they're sleeping with each other. She's obviously using herself as bait to get this fool to sign some papers. Now, in the beginning of it, you kind of see that, she works for the adversary, But then, everything happens. She gets Ichabod to sign the papers and, promise they're going to be married and this and this, this and that. And then, boom, freaking dope, freaking plot twist. It's fucking Bigby. This fool Bigby is a gangster. He is so down for Fabletown. As we saw in like March of the Wooden Soldiers, like he literally has Baba Yaga, like friggin' buried deep in like the Fable Hole. Like but deep in the Fable Hole, and he's like doing all this wet work, like all this stuff. You'll find out more as it comes along, but like this volume basically gives you a really good look at Bigby as a whole, not just who he is and what role he's supposed to play in Fabletown, but everything but some of the stuff he's done in the past. Like he goes to meet up with his friend in New York, and then you come to find out it's the last human surviving member of a platoon he was with in World War II, Dog Company, and it goes off into this whole awesome little tale about this fool being a werewolf fighting Nazis, and it's pretty tight. It's pretty tight. Like I love how quickly it turned into like an action horror story.
Yeah.
It was just that. It was totally that. Dude, it was good. It was good. And then
cool. Real quickly, dude, about the Cinderella stuff though. What I loved is that you learned she's like this secret agent for Bigby that is off the books. Nobody knows about her. I mean, she eventually even gets her own spin-off series. I think there's a couple volumes of that. And then she's also in Fairest, which was another spin-off series that came out. I think there's about 4 volumes of that. So there's like a lot of spin-off stuff that has come out from Fables.
Yeah. And what I like too, like they kind of like tease it. They don't tell you who, but like you find out that Bigby not only has Cinderella, but 2 other people that are off the books. So I can't wait to find out who those are. You know what I mean?
To be honest with you, I can't even remember. The only one I remembered was Cinderella because she was so memorable throughout the run. But yeah, I love Bigby, and I love these. I love when they do these like flashback stories to the Fables in the real world, and like we saw Jack during the Civil War. Now we've seen Bigby during World War II. It's just really cool to see them in those eras and stuff, and to learn a little bit more about the type of people they gravitated towards. Like Jack gravitated towards the fucking Civil War. You know what I mean? Like the South and shit. Yeah. So it's just really cool to see that. But the main arc, or I guess what you could call the main arc of this volume.
There wasn't exposition. It was like a lot of Bigby explaining who Bigby was, and then it leads on to. I feel like it's like a setup to what Bigby will become later. I'm really excited for it. This was a good volume for me.
Yeah, the Mean Seasons was really cool because we finally see the birth of literally a litter of babies. Only one of them looks human. The rest, a couple of them look kind of human with a little wolfish features, and then the other ones just straight look like little baby wolves, kind of, or baby werewolves.
They're adorable, by the way.
Yeah, I love the fact that, like, as Snow White's giving birth to, like, she's like, oh fuck, thank God it's done, and he's like, no, we got another one, and then she's like, oh, there's one more, and he's like, no, there's probably more than that, and you just see her pissed off, and then Bigby's like pacing because he's worried about her and stuff, and then once they're born and we see that they don't look human,
right?
Snow White has to move to the farm because you can't have fables that don't look human, right? This is where the series, I think, really begins to take off a little bit for me. Now that she's at the farm, Bigby's pissed because, like, he wants to be with her. She doesn't want to run away with him. And we learn later in the arc that she still has this idealism of, like, a Prince Charming type figure, right?
Yeah.
And this fairy tale family life, right? Yeah. And Rose Red kind of calls her out on that. And
I like that. I like Rose Red's position on this whole Bigby and Snow White thing. You see her actually be very sisterly in this.
Which which is kind of out of character a little bit for her, you know. We also meet the North Wind, who is Bigby's dad, and we learn a little bit about Bigby, and we see how, he should have always been able to be in human form, but been able to shape change. But he liked being in a wolf form, which is what his mother was a wolf. So he got stuck in that form, and eventually was able to, I think, through an enchantment that they did on him, was able to change between those two forms. And that's why he can, like we said in another podcast, he can huff and puff, right? Yeah. And then the North Wind's coming. He's like, wait, these kids can't shape change yet? Like, what's going on? Like, and she's like, dude, they're only a fucking couple months old. And he's like, yeah, so they're behind. They should be talking by now. They should be being able to shape change. So then Snow White
she's banging on her freaking parental skills.
Yeah. But I mean, like, and then she also didn't know all these things. So then she eventually, like, warms up and she kind of tells him, okay, please train them. And then we learn about Frau Totenkinder sends Snow White a letter saying congratulations on the 7 babies or whatever. And she's like, wait, there's only 6. Yeah. And then we learn about the 7th one, which is actually just wind.
Yeah. Like literal wind. It's invisible. You can't see. And it gets identified by Mr. North. So he's like, yeah, no, they're like wisps. You can't see them.
Right. And they shouldn't even exist. Usually they're killed before they're even born when we recognize them. So, like, that's going to be interesting going forward too, because, like, Snow White realizes that, this wisp of wind has been sucking the life, literally the air, out of people's lungs and killing them inadvertently, because that's what these wisps do. They feed off of the oxygen within people and other living beings. And she sends this wisp off to find Bigby and to stay with him so that Bigby can protect him. And also, like, I have to touch on too, like, Prince Charming is elected the new mayor, right? So, like, that like I told you, it was pretty funny.
There's a whole shift in paradigm at Fables, right? Like a complete paradigm shift.
Snow White's gone, so now we have a new deputy, which is Beauty from Beauty and the Beast. We have a new sheriff, which is Beast, and then, like, we
which is panning out. I'm actually kind of starting to like Beast as the sheriff because he seems like he's taking his job seriously, a little bit more seriously than than Beauty is taking up the mantle of deputy mayor.
Oh yeah, she's completely horrible for the job, but I like this.
In over her head, dude.
And then we learn, like, that there's some secrets that Bigby's been keeping, and we don't learn all of them, but we learn a couple as he's telling Beast. He's like, I'll give you one. I'll give you one secret, and that's the goose that lays the golden egg. And he has this goose sitting in a fucking room just to watches television all day, and that's how he funds his secret missions that are off the books, is by converting these golden eggs into untraceable funds.
Yep.
And
which I thought was great.
It just seemed perfect for you to, like, how does he fund these missions? Oh, he's got the goose that lays the golden egg. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, it's so simple, but it's just so funny at the same time, I just really love this volume. Like you said, I think each volume progressively gets better, and these characters just become more lovable and stuff, and you just begin to care about them more and more. And
definitely more fleshed out, way more depth than I ever thought possible, given their particular situations and where we are in the timeline of the story. You see people change, and I'm talking about everybody. Boy Blue, we're talking about Prince Charming has completely changed. He's actually taking his job relatively more serious than King Cole. Like, you know what I mean? So it's this whole paradigm shift, and I'm really excited because especially for Snow White and Bigby, because now they are out of a working relationship and trying to balance a working relationship and a lover's relationship, but now it's actually a parental relationship, and they're both unemployed.
Their relationship is like the heart of this book, and same with Rose Red and this and her relationship with Snow White. Like we've said too, like this one's kind of focused a little bit on Bigby, also his family too, right? With Snow White and the babies. In this volume, Boy Blue, he steals the Vorpal sword, he steals the witching robe, and he leaves to go. And Pinocchio's body, and he goes back to the homelands. That's why this next volume, which Nick is going to be talking about us with next time we do this, or we do volume 6, very Boy Blue focus, and it's easily one of the best volumes.
After the previous volume, I actually like Boy Blue a lot. I'm really finding myself liking characters that I never would have thought. It's because you tie their whole story mythos to them, right? Boy Blue plays his trumpet, all that. The same thing with the frog. What's his name? Flycatcher, and who else? Who else am I really digging? I think that's it for right now. And just Prince Charming, like the complete turnarounds they are from who they are in the storybooks to who they are in the Mundy world. It's so interesting. It's super super captivating, and it's crazy to think that Bill Willingham was literally like, okay, let's make this person like that. He's Prince Charming. He's supposed to be the perfect dude, but let's make him a douche. Boy Blue plays his trumpet, and I'm not even really too familiar with the story. All I know is that he's perpetually sad, but he just loves to play his trumpet. How they turned him into like a war hero, bound by duty. That's dope, dude. That's so awesome to me. Even Bigby, friggin' literally the villain of a majority of these friggin' tales to stay out of the woods. It's always the wolf. It's always the wolf. And then you turn him into a sheriff? That's fucking tight.
Yeah. I mean, and also I like what they did too with that beginning arc that we talked about when he's in World War II. He doesn't turn fully into wolf form. He turns into a werewolf, and he's fighting Frankenstein.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That was also really fucking cool. Yeah. So that was pretty cool too.
Castle. It felt very Hellboyish to me. I felt like it was a Hellboy homage.
Yeah, for sure.
Even if as a small glimpse, because what Hellboy do? Hellboy took a bunch of old folklore, like literally Baba Yaga was in both of these stories. Yeah, Hellboy and Fables. So I felt like it was kind of like a little. I tip my hat to you, Mr. Mike Mignola. You are awesome for bringing these old stories back to life, like what I want to do. You know what I mean? This series is just like you said, it's been perpetually good. I read this in one sitting. Usually for the Fable stuff, I gotta spread it out. You know what I mean? Yeah, this one was fun.
I know it's hard. It's hard when we do these too to really expand too much
without giving away too much.
Right, because otherwise we're just literally going to be repeating ourselves too with some of the things we're talking about, which is, I think, when I've noticed too, when I listen back to us recording, we don't spend as much time on a new volume of Fables as we do on, let's say last week with Sandman, right? Or on any other book that we do. And it's because we've talked about these characters so much that really all we can really do is kind of check in on them again and say what they're doing. I do. I think, like I said, I think in the past too, if you notice the pages that are not done by Mark Buckingham, like Tony Atkins does the first 3 issues of this trade, the layout is so different. I love the way Buckingham lays out his panels, dude. At the top, you'll see the stork, right? Holding the knapsack of the babies, or you'll have the vote, a ribbon on one thing. I like those little, and then the borders that he does. I like those little touches.
I like the spider for when it was that scene with Mr. Webb and Miss Moffat.
Oh yeah,
there's an actual spider, but it wasn't how you usually see a spider in comic books where you see it from the top down. It was just actually front on, you know what I mean? It was actually pretty cool. It was one of a very small, insignificant thing, but it was very well done and very, very classfully done. Nice.
Yeah, and then we can't forget our boy Colin, the pig, made a return, to tell Snow White that no, shit's shit is gonna get bad. I can't give you the because she asked him. She's like, you
Yeah.
know, are things gonna get better now? And he's like, I wish I could say it did, but it doesn't. You know, and like so that
Yeah.
just is foretelling some more shit that's gonna happen. If you
How
really
real
like,
of a homie is Colin though? Like from beyond the grave, he's even like looking out.
yeah,
Like,
yeah, I know. I love it, dude. I just love I just love all these fucking characters. You know?
you know what I find funny about Colin though? It was like they never give him his body back. It was like the second time we see him, you know, post mortem, and he still doesn't have a body. He's just
Yeah.
literally a head on a pike. Like,
Yeah, in her dreams, like she could imagine him not on a pike. You know what I mean? Like, but no, that's how she sees him.
And she's totally not bothered by it.
No, doesn't even phase her. It didn't phase her the first time. If I saw it, you know. Yeah, there's a lot going on here. Like I'm trying to be careful too with stuff that I've noticed on the second go round that kind of allude to some stuff that's going to happen that I didn't pick up when I originally read it. But one thing that is in here is there's that reporter that kind of talks about the war between the March of the Wooden Soldiers that took place, and he's like, how come I'm the only one that's noticing these things on Bullfinch Street, right? And that I would not have picked out if I didn't recently start reading Jack of Fables, which is the original first spin-off from Fables.
Is that what happened? Is that what happened to Jack? Because, you know, I know Jack steps away.
Right, Jack steps away in this volume. And then I don't know if it talks about him in volume 6, and I can't remember. But yes, it's where he goes and how he stole the money, and then he goes to Hollywood and shit. And that character.
So he did steal the money.
Yeah. So it's
money.
The Jack of Fables, and I'm ashamed to say it took me this long to read Jack of Fables. It's so good. I read 4 volumes of it, and I read them so quickly. And then I'm like, oh shit! Like now I'm ahead of where Fables is at because I think in volume 13, I could be saying the wrong number, but it's called the Great Fables Crossover, and that crosses over with Jack of Fables, and then another miniseries called The Literals, which you learn about the Literals in the Jack of Fables comic. Yeah, so that book's
is it still Willingham writing
that? Bill Willingham co-writes it with Matthew Sturgis.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah, it's really good though. Yeah, definitely. Like for anybody that's listening and for you too, Dill, we will not be covering Jack of Fables because we're just mainly covering the Fables books. But if you're reading along, and I don't know how you guys are reading this, if you're reading on Hoopla, and you can find Jack of Fables, definitely like you'll know the spot when to jump into Jack of Fables and then to read it accordingly with this. But yeah, it's definitely essential.
We actually have the omnibus at what do you call it? At Arsenal, like the hardcover.
Jack of Fables.
Jack of Fables, yeah. Like so, Timmy's gearing up for Christmas now, dude. You know how many diamond boxes I had to unload this freaking past week? Like, it's ridiculous.
Really?
Yeah, we got like 15 issues of Volume 1 omnibus freaking of the boys. We got like. We've just got so much stuff. Like I literally have a whole row of 4 bookshelves. Like that's almost all Batman.
Yeah, we have like 4 rows of Batman too at Collectors.
Exactly. But... It's ridiculous. Yeah. But I know I love it. I'm just saying. I'm just blindly complaining. But anyway.
But yeah, so I mean, I think it's safe to say like I don't really have much else to go on for Fables other than it continues to remind me as I'm rereading this why this is one of my favorite series of all time. And I think that, you know, I'm noticing like Ant Saldivar, he's fucking reading along with us, which I think is really cool to see.
Yeah. I really appreciate that, dude.
Yeah. So, if I can get more people to read this book by doing this podcast, then, I'm doing my job. Even if it's one person that we get to read, I feel like I've succeeded. You know what I mean? Because I think it's a great series.
I feel like that's the goal with a lot of the stuff we read. Like, I just want people to read the stuff that we love. Like, you know what I mean? And we have a pretty decent lineup coming up. We have Wytches next week with Mario.
Yes, we got Wytches next week with Mario, and then the next day we're recording with Jen. We're gonna do Hellboy: Seed of Destruction for our Halloween special.
It's gonna be great, and then finally Nick gets to come back. Like just about our October.
Yeah, we literally have 3 guests in a row.
That's
and
awesome.
I know, and then you guys have to just listen to Dylan and I after that because I don't think we have anybody coming on for a while after that.
Yeah, we don't have anybody coming on for a while. It's literally almost the whole last 2 months just us.
Yeah.
It's gonna be great.
Yeah, I'm very excited. I don't want to give too much away on what we got coming up, but I love the selections that you dropped in.
Yeah.
On our Google Doc, so can't wait, dude.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be fun. I'm really like, there's like a couple I'm looking forward to because a couple of these I've never read. So I mean, aside from the Fables, but a couple of them I haven't read, and I've been meaning to. So I'm glad we're doing it.
There's quite a few on here that I haven't read too. Like pretty much everything you put on, with the exception of like the December stuff. So without giving away anything that we're reading, just in case we for some reason end up changing it, I don't want to fucking say we're reading it, you know. But yeah, the stuff that you put in there, except for like what we're reading at the end of November, I've read most of the other two selections in December, but there's like I didn't read the end of Klaus. We already said we're doing that one. I haven't read the end of that. I only read the first couple, and then the other book you put I've read sporadically. But yeah, we've got a great lineup of stuff coming up to cap out the end of this year. So I hope all you guys listening fucking keep listening.
Keep listening. It's gonna be good. Yeah. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
Let's talk about what we're reading next week, dude. I personally don't have like anything that's like super exciting, but I'll quickly read off. Well, that's a lie. Daredevil. I'm always excited when that comes out. New issue is Stillwater.
I read it.
Oh yeah, I don't. I know I get the advances, but I haven't read an advanced one since I stopped doing reviews.
No, low key me too. Except like the image ones are like the ones I always look out for. Every time I get the advanced emails, I kind of just ignore them. But when an image comes in, I'm like, oh, what's on here? And
I know. Part of me feels like I need to start doing them again. I don't want to lose them, you know. Stillwater good.
It's good. Zdarsky, he was right. You have to read issue 2 to get what happens in issue 3 because this one wasn't. This one was kind of like a lot of explanatory stuff, and then at the end it gets crazy. But like it was a lot of It kind of gives you explains the hierarchy and the structure in Stillwater, and also what they believe too. Like it tells you more about the town more than anything. So
all right,
yeah. So Zdarsky was right. You have to read this to get issue 3.
I mean, I was already all in after that first issue. I was really stoked. And then I'm excited to read the next issue, Iron Man, obviously, to see where that's going to go. And X-Men is always good when Hickman's writing it. But again, it's part of this massive tie-in. So it's like I kind of know somewhat of what I'm going to get based on what I've been reading. But yeah, I mean, other than that, there's a new Ninja Turtles comic, New Savage Dragon.
New Ninja Turtles. I'm excited for that.
Are you reading it?
What? We talking about Last Ronin?
No.
Last Ronin is at the end of the month. I'm sorry.
Right, December, yeah. Okay, yeah. That one, yeah. We're definitely going to have to talk about that. Yeah, overall, I think it's a relatively small week in terms of releases. I also have a new issue of Gideon Falls, which is about to end. But other than that, yeah, like I'm even looking at the other books that I don't read. Like I read the new issue of Batman already that's coming out, and I was like, I don't know what you're doing, bro. I just don't get it. I mean, for anybody that knows the 1 in 25 variant, it has Grifter from Wildcats, and he's in there, but I don't get why. And that's really the only reason I read it, because I love Grifter, you know? Teenage Ryan.
Grifter's a shit.
Yeah, Teenage Ryan loves Wildcats. So
exactly.
But yeah, other than
sell it forever.
I always liked Spartan, the ginger cyborg. I always liked
ginger cyborg Cyclops.
Yeah, yeah. So I don't know. It was okay. It was passable, I guess. And that's not even nice to say it's passable. So, I don't know. And then
you basically say you got a D+.
Yeah. That's exactly what I'm saying. And then I also read the next Justice League tie-in that Williamson's doing for Metal. That was good. Yeah. And then I tried to read Robin King. I opened it up and I'm like, yeah, fuck this. I don't even want to read this book. It's just like it looked so dialogue heavy or just so verbose, and I'm like, I was in the middle of the Lakers book also, so I'm like, do I really want to?
I'm just gonna read the Lakers.
Yeah, I'm like, you know what? I read Batman, I read Justice League. Like, I wasn't planning on reading any more single issues anyways until Monday. That's when I read my single issues. I read them Monday, and then I'll finish off Tuesday morning. And then the rest of my week is devoted to like whatever trades are in my read pile or whatever else I'm reading. But I didn't want to waste my time with Robin King because it's one of the times it didn't really grab me, So
right, I get it. I mean, I don't know what the hype is with Robin King. And, like, you know, when Specs had a freaking field day with freaking Robin King, you know, the Stories of the Multiverse.
Yeah, no, I know, and that book's not even worth anything
Robin
anymore.
King. Oh my.
Yeah.
Guys, calm down. You know what comes out next week though? A bunch. What do you call it? A lot of like some of those freaking Scumbag.
Oh yeah. I'm not sub to it. I'm gonna check it out. I'm definitely gonna read it. I know you. I know we've talked about it, and I'm like, oh, I'll read it after we're done recording. But I'm like, you know what? I really just want to read it in print because, like,
the art is awesome.
Yeah. Well, each issue is a different artist too.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a little disappointing.
It's not, because look at the lineup of artists he has.
Oh,
look at the lineup of artists. He's got some dope fucking artists.
I gotta check this out.
But, yeah, you're gonna be happy. So
okay.
I think that book will be something we talk about next week.
It's gonna be great. Like because you know, I literally all I knew of it was literally freaking the tagline, the solicit.
Right.
When I read it, I mean, when you read it, it's literally like redneck hillbilly freaking biker super secret agent. And I'm 100% here for it. It's great. And friggin' La Rosa is doing the art for this one. Who's doing the art for the next one?
I don't know. He's got like Wes Craig from Deadly Class is going to do an issue. I think Jerome Pena is going to do an issue. Pretty much like a lot of the artists that he's worked with in the past, I think.
Yeah.
I don't really remember. I don't want to like start naming off names and then be wrong, but I do know that every single artist is a fucking heavy hitter. Like there's no artist on there that I wasn't like, dude, that's dope, you know? So yeah, I'm excited for that.
Yeah, Scumbag is great. Yeah, and what else? That's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. All I'm excited for. Yeah, no, I'm pretty good.
All right, cool. So that's all I got, and that's been another episode of the Comic Lounge podcast. Mm-hmm. If you're not already following us, make sure you give us a follow on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at the Comic Lounge. Also, throw your comments or suggestions down below, or you can email us, thecomicloungepod@gmail.com. And make sure you hit the subscribe button on whatever you're listening to us on, whether it's YouTube, Podbean, Spotify, or iTunes, so that you're notified every time we drop a new episode. On that note, we're out.
Peace. Wait, later, buds.